The current leadership that we have in the United States Congress and the presidency right now is not great. You might say it's never been great, but I think that the leadership we've had in the decades past, at least in some ways, was better than what we have right now. I think that's fair to say. And I think other Republicans and Democrats are acknowledging this. We have another example here. This is former Ohio Governor John Kasich, a moderate Republican, wrote on Facebook, "I long for the days when Republicans and Democrats came together to balance the budget, pay down the debt, and drive robust economic growth. It took a combination of courage and bipartisanship, and it worked. That model can be repeated, hopefully before a major crisis occurs. But I fear that we are on the road to that crisis now." We are on the road to that crisis now, he says. Now, look, he's looking at things through kind of rose colored glasses. He's kind of sugarcoating the leadership of the past. I mean, it's been very rare that we've actually paid off our debt. That's something that does not happen. We almost always are in debt. We almost always are struggling with a deficit. There was a surplus under Bill Clinton, so I'm sure John Kasich thinks very highly of those times, that he thinks that there was a lot of great bipartisanship back in that era. The reason I would say he's sugarcoating that is that while there were good things related to the surplus and paying down the deficit, there was a serious problem with deregulation and with cuts to the welfare state. And some of this deregulation actually, it was stuff under Bill Clinton, and people kind of blame George W. Bush for it, even though it started under the Democrat Bill Clinton. So this was bipartisan action taken to ease the regulatory burden on big, powerful financial companies. They were saying, oh, this is in the interest of the country. This is going to help spur economic growth or something. Just let big business run roughshod over the country. That was a bipartisan initiative, and Democrats and Republicans both deserve condemnation for that. Yet at the same time, yeah, they did work together on some important things. There was important legislation. Some of it, was pushed by Ted Kennedy, a very left-wing senator from Massachusetts. There were plenty of other progressive leaders in Congress who worked with conservative leaders to get stuff done. They found common ground. And now, they do find some common ground. For example, there's been this no tax on tip bill passed by the Senate, 100-0. But I will say, and I'm sure John Kasich would probably agree with that, that's kind of cold comfort. Oh, I'm not going to pay taxes on tips. I'm not going to pay taxes on tips when there's something much bigger going on, something much more disastrous going on, a much more concerning crisis looming over our heads. Yes, easing the tax burden can directly save Americans money. Income tax obviously eats up a chunk of people's paycheck, and I'm sure people are happy to pay lower income tax, including on their tips that they earn from whatever job they're doing that pays tips. But that does not solve economic crises. That does not prevent ridiculous financial decisions from our leading institutions. That does not lead to decreases in unemployment, decreases in inflation, for example. That does not improve the state of the country. And yeah, so Kasich, he's sounding the alarm here. He's never been a fan of Trump, really. He actually endorsed Joe Biden in 2020. He appeared in a video at the DNC for Joe Biden in 2020. But the guy, he's not all just like bluster and saying like, oh, Republicans are bad and virtue signaling about it. No, he actually was one of the few governors who took the Medicaid expansion from the Affordable Care Act. Chris Christie of New Jersey did that as well. He's a Republican governor in a blue state. But John Kasich is like, yeah, no, we got to expand Medicaid. We got to get people health care. It's helpful. They're offering us this with no strings attached, really. It's a great thing. We're going to take it. We want people to have health care versus not having health care. And a lot of these other Republican governors, what did they do? They played politics with people's lives, with people's health, with people's wallets, and said, no, we're not going to take it because the Affordable Care Act is socialism. We don't agree with it. It was passed by a Democratic president who we dislike, and we want our voters to like us. We want our voters to like us, and to get them to like us, we need to sick it to the Democratic president. They're going to say, oh, you're going soft on Obama. You're not standing up against the socialist Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, which is going to have death panels. So yeah, we're going to vote against you if you vote to expand Medicaid in our state. And John Kasich was not one of those Republicans. So he's got some credentials in terms of not being a psychopath, in terms of doing the right thing at times. He's also fairly conservative on a host of issues. But he's not a guy who's like bought into just far-right Trumpian MAGA propaganda. And I'm sure that a lot of progressives would say that he's a breath of fresh air compared to a lot of hardcore MAGA Republicans. I remember, I think it was the streamer Destiny was watching the Republican debate in 2024, the primary, without Trump on the stage. And he was reacting to Nikki Haley saying, oh my gosh, neocons feel like a breath of fresh air right now. And it's like, in some ways they kind of do, in some ways they do. They make bad decisions. They advance ridiculous positions like, oh, America needs Israel. Israel doesn't need America. They say very weird pro-Israel stuff, but at the end of the day, they're not gonna tumble our country into authoritarianism, and they're not like just hell bent on screwing the poor and the middle class over. They will make some decisions which are not necessarily based in politics and based in an obsession with owning the libs. And that is exactly what Trump and his administration are about. They're passing this bill in the House right now, the MAGA Republicans are, to basically dismantle healthcare, dismantle food stamps, all this stuff, just to own the libs, to own the left, to destroy the left, to piss off leftists. And it's really cringe, I will say. Very cringe, as the kids might say, on TikTok and all that stuff. Being obsessed with spite is a cringe thing to do. Bipartisanship can be a bad thing. Sometimes Republicans and Democrats agree to do very, very bad things together, like deregulating Wall Street, like ridiculous foreign policy decisions that just entangle America in wars. Think about the Vietnam War in the 1960s. But yeah, this is a good post from John Kasich. I like the spirit of it, even if he's sugarcoating the past a little too much. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, or subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for watching. This has been The More the Merrier, and I look forward to speaking to you in my next video.